Elliot's last words were never meant to be heard. They slipped out in a breathless whisper, almost drowned beneath the hum of the crowded subway car. A name, soft and strange, one that no one else on that train knew. It wasn't a name anyone had ever spoken aloud, not in this city, not in any history Elliot could have known. And then, just like that, he was gone. Not disappeared into the crowd, not lost in the rush of the underground, but gone. As if the space he occupied had folded in on itself, leaving nothing but silence and the faintest echo of his voice hanging in the stale air. People glanced around, bewildered, searching for an explanation, but no one could explain what they'd just witnessed. It was as though reality itself had fractured, revealing a crack too deep, too cold, for any of us to understand. And if you're listening now, if you've caught this glimpse into what shouldn't be known, then you're part of it, part of a story they never wanted anyone to uncover. Because the question lurking behind Elliot's vanished presence isn't just who or what he was whispering about. It's why. Why has humanity declared war on a species that no one alive has ever seen? A predator so lethal it's whispered about only in classified files and nightmares. You think you're watching a story about survival, but the truth will twist your understanding of life, death, and everything in between. The galaxy's deadliest species isn't out there, waiting. It's already here, and it's waiting for you. But before you can make sense of it, before you can even grasp what's real, the screen flickers, the signal cuts, and the last word Elliot ever spoke comes through one final time, haunting and clear. They're watching. The words "they're watching" still echo inside your mind, reverberating like some fractured pulse that refuses to die. But then the screen dies, static, dead silence, and for a long, unbearable moment, you're left alone with the hollow weight of it all, like some piece of you has slipped away, vanished with Elliot, or maybe with the story itself. Because here's the thing. After that moment, the world never quite settles back into place. The edges blur, and you start wondering if you ever saw anything at all. Did Elliot vanish? Did he speak that name? Or did your mind pull at the loose threads of something deeper, something buried beneath the noise and the lies they feed us every day? You try to hold on to the memory of that moment, but it starts slipping away, details fading like shadows at dusk. The exact words you heard? Gone, the face you saw distorted. And every time you replay that flickering screen, that whispered warning, the audio warps, glitches, cutting in and out, as if the very fabric of reality is fraying around you. You find recordings, hidden fragments in forgotten corners of the internet, where people claim to have heard the same name Elliot whispered, but their versions contradict each other, twisting and unraveling like some sick game you didn't sign up for. And then there's Lena. You don't know how she got here, or why she shows up at your door that night, drenched in rain and clutching a battered recorder, the kind with tape inside, a relic in this digital age. She looks at you with eyes full of something you can't quite place. Fear, desperation, or maybe something darker, a quiet madness lurking just beneath the surface. Lena insists she was there, on that subway, that she heard the name too. But the thing is, she can't remember much else. Her stories jump and stutter like the broken recordings you've been chasing, half-remembered details, fragments that don't line up. When you press her, she laughs nervously, a sound that feels like cracking glass, and says, "Maybe none of it happened. Maybe we're all just losing it." Her presence pulls you deeper into this tangled web of uncertainty. You want to trust her, to find comfort in another soul caught in the same nightmare, but every interaction drips with doubt. Was she even real? Or a figment of your unraveling mind? You start catching yourself talking to shadows, second-guessing memories that seem too vivid to be false but too fragmented to be whole. Sometimes late at night, you swear you hear Elliot's voice slipping through your phone speaker, garbled, distorted, warning you again with that single chilling phrase. But when you check, there's nothing there. What they don't want you to remember is more than just a secret. It's a trap. The more you try to piece together the truth, the more it slips through your fingers like smoke. The boundaries between what's real and what's hallucination start start to collapse, and you're left in a twilight zone of your own fractured mind, where the deadliest species might just be the silence inside you, and the war you declared is one you might already be losing. And just when you think you've reached the bottom of this abyss, Lena leans in close, her voice barely a whisper, eyes wild and unblinking. There's something inside us now, not just watching, waiting, and it's already too late to run. For a fleeting moment, the storm seemed to break. The endless fog of doubt that had clawed at your mind began to thin, parting just enough to reveal what felt like the heart of the mystery, the hidden truth you'd been grasping for in the dark. It started with a battered folder you found buried beneath a pile of forgotten files in an abandoned office building, yellowed with age and smelling of damp paper and secrets long suppressed. Inside, there were records, detailed, precise, about a series of disappearances stretching back decades, each incident marked by the same eerie signature, a whispered name, vanished individuals, and a strange absence of any official acknowledgement. There were blurred photos of faces you recognized from your childhood neighborhood, shadowed figures caught on grainy security footage, and notes written in a trembling hand that hinted at a cover-up too massive to be coincidence as you sifted. Through the files, the pieces aligned with terrifying clarity. The story wasn't new. It was older than you'd dared imagine, buried under layers of denial and deliberate forgetting. That same voice, the one Elliot had whispered, had echoed through your town's dark history. People had seen it, heard it, disappeared into thin air just like he had. The pattern was undeniable. The war humanity thought it had declared was a reaction born out of a buried collective memory, one that had been wiped clean, erased from official history, like a scar we all carried but none remembered. You felt the rush of vindication, that crushing relief when the pieces suddenly fit. You weren't crazy. You weren't imagining the danger lurking just out of sight. The mystery was uncovered, but just as the weight began to lift, a flicker of movement caught your eye on a fading page. A corner folded back, revealing a hidden photograph tucked beneath the report. It was an image that stopped your breath cold. A young child standing in a dimly lit room, eyes wide and unblinking, mouth frozen mid-whisper, the same impossible name curling out like smoke. Your heart hammered because the face was unmistakable. It was you. But the date stamped on the photo was from years before you were even born. The memory glitch twisted sharply. You could almost hear the distant echo of your own voice, a shadow of a moment you never lived but somehow knew. The uncanny familiarity unspooled a cold dread deep inside you, a silent scream trapped beneath layers of forgotten trauma. That moment from the past mirrored everything happening now. Except it wasn't a past you remembered living. It was as if time itself had folded back onto you, folding and folding until the line between what was real and what had been fabricated blurred into nothingness. And beneath the surface, beneath even the terror of vanished friends and fractured memories, something darker had been watching all along, something that moved through your thoughts like a whisper, unseen but always there, feeding on your fear and doubt. It wasn't a thing you could name, not yet, but it was a presence that felt deeply personal, like the cold grip of a forgotten nightmare reaching through the years to claim you once more. You thought you had solved it. You thought you were about to breathe free. But the moment you stared into that photograph, felt that impossible connection, everything shifted. You realized you'd been chasing shadows painted by something far more dangerous, a force that had manipulated your mind, blurred your memories, and twisted your reality from the start. The story you thought you understood unraveled, and in its place was a question that turned your blood ice cold. If the past was a lie, if the memories you trusted were false, then what was real? And how long had this presence been waiting, feeding, pulling the strings beneath everything you believed? As the weight of that truth settled, you had no choice but to rewind, to watch it all again, knowing now that every moment, every whisper, every flicker on the screen was part of a far deeper, more twisted game. You're not crazy. They lied. To you. But now that you know the secret, the question remains, can you ever trust what you see again? You thought you were alone in this, just a lone thread unraveling the tapestry of a buried truth. But you were right all along. Others have been pulled into this silent fracture, caught in the same spiral you're caught in now. They don't speak openly. They don't gather or call for help because the very act of acknowledging the shadow that's creeping through memory and time invites it closer. Instead, they watch from the edges, watching you, watching the story unfold like a slow-burning fuse in the dark. You see traces of them in the corners of your vision, glimpses of faces in crowded streets, names scribbled in the margins of forgotten journals, cryptic messages that appear where no one should have written, glowing faintly on cracked phone screens that weren't yours to begin with. The symbols they share are fragments, shards of a code woven through shared dreams and fleeting nightmares, strange sigils that pulse with meaning only you and these unseen others can decode, each detail an invitation and a warning. In those dreams, the air tastes metallic and thick like the edge of drowning. You and the others move through a labyrinth that shifts beneath your feet, walls echoing with voices speaking the name Elliot whispered, voices that never truly resolve into words but linger like static in your mind. These aren't just hallucinations or glitches. They're signals, bursts of communication from a network you never chose to join but now can't escape. Every waking hour, the lines between memory and manipulation blur further. Were these visions always there, buried in the recesses of your mind? Or is something inserting itself, rewriting your past in real time? And if you are not the only one, what does that say about the nature of identity when the memories you rely on can be so effortlessly distorted, replaced, erased? Somewhere in this tangled web is another presence, a third perspective. An observer who watches with cold precision, whose gaze is both unseen and invasive. This observer doesn't speak directly. Instead, it leaves breadcrumbs in found footage from 20 years ago, grainy clips that surface on encrypted forums, snippets of conversations and shadowed figures caught in frame just long enough to ignite the fear that you're part of something far larger and far older than you realized. This is what the government never released, the files too sensitive, the truths too dangerous, and yet here they are, pulled into the open by those who refuse to stay silent, those who, like you, have been watching from the margins, piecing together the fragments of a reality too fractured to fully comprehend. The dread you feel isn't just fear of what's out there. It's a deeply personal unease that creeps into your bones, a gnawing suspicion that the boundaries of self are thinner than you thought, that your thoughts, your memories, maybe even your very sense of who you are not fully your own. Control is an illusion, and the more you grasp for certainty, the more it slips away, replaced by a cold, suffocating awareness that something or someone has been pulling the strings all along. You begin to question if the war you believed you declared was ever yours to fight, or if you've been a pawn, a signal beacon in a game you don't understand. Every face in the crowd, every whisper behind closed doors, every flicker on a cracked screen might be another watcher, another player, or perhaps another victim of the same unseen force that's been watching you. The air tightens around your chest as you realize the conspiracy is no longer distant. It's not just a story to be uncovered, it's an endless loop you're trapped in, a network of minds linked by shared trauma and fractured reality, all staring into the abyss together, and all waiting for the moment the truth finally breaks free. But as the shadows lengthen, as the symbols pulse with urgent meaning and the silence deepens, you know this is far from over. The observer waits, the watchers watch, and somewhere deep inside, you sense the story is about to shift again. This time, in a way that will force you to question everything you thought you knew, everything you thought you saw, and maybe even what it means to be you at all. There comes a moment when the relentless search for answers stops feeling like discovery and starts to feel like undoing, a slow unraveling of everything you thought you were. It isn't about what happened anymore. It never was. The mystery folds inward, twisting itself into a question that pierces deeper than any truth you could uncover. Why did this happen? And more terrifying still, What does that say about us, about the fragile, tangled thread of being human that's been stretched thin, frayed, and nearly broken beneath it all? You stand on the edge of something vast and unknowable. The names, whispered in the dark, the vanished friends, the flickers of memories that don't belong to you, none of it was random. It was an echo of a truth buried beneath layers of fear, control, and forgetfulness. But this truth isn't just a fact to hold up to the light. It is a mirror held trembling before your face, reflecting every doubt, every broken hope, every piece of you you've hidden away even from yourself. In the quiet of that moment, the weight of what you've uncovered becomes a crushing clarity. The war you thought was against some distant horror is really a battle against the parts of ourselves we refuse to see, the ghosts of pain, loss, and silence that live inside us all. And in that terrifying stillness, you realize the choice before you isn't about escaping the darkness, but embracing it. Because the truth, however raw, however unspeakable, has the power to either shatter you or save you. But it demands something you're not sure you can give: honesty, vulnerability, the painful act of facing what you've denied, the parts of your own mind and heart that you've locked away, convinced they were poison. It's a confession whispered into the void, a raw crack in the armor of your soul where fear and hope collide in a silent scream. This moment, this fracture, is not an ending. It is the beginning of a terrifying awakening, where the dream you thought you were trapped in dissolves, and you wake with a gasp, trembling, to a reality both more fragile and more profound than you ever dared imagine. Because being human means living with the unknown inside you, carrying the weight of memories both true and false, wrestling with the question of what is real, and learning, finally, that sometimes the greatest mystery is the self itself. You are not just a witness to a cosmic war or a shadowed conspiracy. You are a participant in the raw, aching story of survival, of fear, and above all, of the fragile light that flickers stubbornly in the darkest places. So as the darkness presses closer, as the watcher's gaze pierces deeper, you hold fast to the only thing you know for certain. The truth isn't a single answer, but a question that demands you keep looking, keep breaking open, keep waking up again and again, no matter how painful it may be. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for stories you were never meant to hear. Until next time, remember, some truths don't want to be found.